Hey everybody, just want to do a quick update on my waterfall tank here. I've made two minor additions to it that we're going to talk about tonight. The first one is simple, and that is simply that I put the two baby red Wag Platies that I had in my quarantine tank over into this tank, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see them in this video or not. I really hope we will get a chance to. Keep your eyes open looking for them. The last time I saw one was right before I pressed record, and you can see that red one right there against that rock, kind of hiding back in the vegetation there. So there's one of them. Maybe it'll cooperate a little bit. You can kind of make it out right there. So that is one of the little baby red Wag Platies that I put in this tank. I cannot believe how big they're getting and how fast they're growing. I keep laughing thinking about they grow up so fast. And there's another one in there somewhere. I did put two of them in here. So unless something happened to the other one, and I can't imagine what would have happened to it, there should be two of those little baby red Wag Platies in here. So that is update number one. Update number two is I recently put a water lily that I purchased from Lowe's Home Improvement. It's meant for ponds or an outdoor, like a tub, a summer tub, a whiskey barrel or something like that. And you can see it's definitely put some new shoots out since it's been in the tank. It was recommended by a lot of people that I use root tabs to make it flourish and actually produce lily pads and flowers this year. I've tried these before and they never really amounted to anything. And so I did, in fact, oh look, there's the other red Wag Platy right there, hanging out in the vegetation near the surface. So they're both still in there and they're both still doing okay. So I ordered, I know the top is kind of torn off there, but that's Flourish tabs. And these are basically just a gravel bed supplement. And that got me thinking about the last video I shot about these root tabs, and I questioned whether or not root tabs should have phosphorus and nitrogen in them. And I got a lot of really good responses to that, a lot of good comments where people were talking about different reasons why different people might need different nutrients, and some tanks may need excess nitrogen or excess phosphorus or something like that, whereas it's not available. In my particular case, I really don't need that, and I had never really considered like a deep bed or like a dirted tank when I was thinking about root tabs. I was thinking about the types of tanks I run, and they're generally very simple, basic, sort of beginner kind of tanks. If you look at this one, you can see it's got about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches of basic aquarium gravel. And that is what my little lily back there is rooted into, or going to root into. In fact, I kind of had to sort of pile a rock on top of it just to make sure the fish don't knock the gravel away and it would float to the surface. So there's not really a deep substrate for this plant to really root into. So for my thinking, the idea that available phosphorus or nitrogen that's readily available in the water column, why would that not be readily available to the roots of a plant? And of course, I wasn't thinking about all those people out there that have deep substrate, whether it's gravel, sand, dirt, clay. There's a lot of different substrates that might prevent the water column water from freely flowing around the roots of the plant, and you might have two very different nutrient conditions between where the roots are versus the water column. And depending on whether or not the plant can foliar feed and draw nutrients directly through its leaves, I can see there being a need in certain circumstances for people to want root tabs that had the phosphorus and the nitrogen available directly to the root system of a plant. Whereas in my case, I really don't think that's necessary. This is such a shallow rooted plant. That is more of a concern of mine than it not getting enough nutrients. My concern is that it is such a shallow root bed that it might not do well in there. I also have to reconsider what I was saying about the nitrogen and phosphorus. This is one of those tanks that, because it's so heavily planted, you have to consider, you know, I've got that plant drawing nutrients out of the water. I've got all of that duckweed, and I know you can't tell, but that is a thick layer of duckweed that has just been growing across the front of the tank. There's a thick layer of duckweed up here, and duckweed drinks the nutrients out of your aquarium. I've also got plants over here that are growing. This fern is pulling nutrients out of the water, and then of course all of the plants you can see in the tank are pulling nutrients out of the water. So it might not be a bad idea for me to add root tabs that have a little bit of nitrogen and phosphorus in them the more I'm actually thinking about this. So I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. I bought the ones that did not contain it. I just bought the ones you just saw, the Flourish, and there is no added nitrogen or phosphorus in those tabs. So we'll have to wait and see, but those are the ones I got. Maybe I'll check out those other ones if they weren't too expensive. Maybe I can just go ahead and order them too, and maybe I'll give them a shot. Maybe I'll put them in the tank and see if I don't suddenly start seeing nitrate appear in the water column if I'm using tabs that have nitrogen available. That'll be an interesting experiment. Maybe I'll do that. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe while you're thinking about it, and that way you won't miss that video or anything else I've got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me, but it'll be interesting to find out if the root tabs with the nitrogen in them actually do add nitrates to my tank. So I'm actually going to go upstairs right now and order some of them, and I'm going to get to testing this tank to see what the nitrogen levels are and so on and so forth. So again, make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of that coming up or anything else. So thanks again for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget, of course, this one here is my 40-gallon Waterfall tank. So thanks again. See you real soon in the next one.